Okay folks, in this video we're going to be talking about step 3 of part 2 in the lab for Cisco NetAcad 1 7.1.4.9, identifying IP version 4 addresses. This lab is asking us, or this part of this lab is asking us to analyze the table and identify whether an address and prefix combo is a valid host address. So some of the things that we have to think about when we're trying to determine whether an address is valid to be assigned to a host is, number one, there are two addresses in every network that cannot be assigned to a host. So those are invalid. And those two addresses are the network address and the broadcast address. So those two can never be assigned to any one individual host. And if you remember from our previous videos, we can use the IP address and the subnet mask. That combination of those two items will help us to determine whether an address is the network address or is it the broadcast address. Okay, so those are some of the things that might eliminate an IP address from being valid for a host. But there are some other considerations that we have to think about as well. And those things that we have to think about are, the first thing that I want you to think about is, as far as is it a valid to be assigned to a host, remember we talked about those 6 classes of IP addresses. I said the first 3 classes were available to be assigned to hosts, and then the second 3 could not be assigned because those are special classes that are not assigned to any one host. So the first class of those that are not valid is our multicast range, and we've already talked about our multicast range, which goes from 224.0.0.0 all the way through 239.255.255.255. So that's our multicast range. The next range on the block is a reserved range, and that range goes from 240.0.0.0 through 247.255.255.255. And that would have been class E. Now class F is the rest of the internet. So that is 248.0.0.0 through 255.255.255.255. So that's what class F is. So pretty much anything that's larger than 224.0.0.0 is going to not be a valid host. So I usually say look at your first octet, and if it's greater than 224, or if it's 224 or greater, then it's not going to be a valid host. And I see a couple of those there, and I've explained to you what each one of them is so that now you can pick out which reason. Okay, now the next thing that might come into play as far as whether it's a valid address or not, besides is it one of those 3 ranges, is it a network or a broadcast, the last thing is we also have 3 other special classes that the NetAcad, or special ranges, not classes, special ranges that are within our 3 classes that are not allowed to be assigned to the host. And those are not our privates. Our private addresses and our public addresses are available to be assigned to host. But inside our class A, right at the very end of class A, is a special range that is not allowed to be assigned to a host because it's our loopback range. And that's spelled L-O-O-P-B-A-C-K. That loopback range is 127.0.0.0 through 127.255.255.255. So if the first octet starts with 127, it's not valid because it's loopback. Alright, so those are the reasons that you might have a host or an IP address that is not valid to be assigned to a host. Anytime you attempt to do that, the host should come back and say, hey, you can't assign this IP address because it's got a bad address. And you check your address and you're like, why isn't it working? Make sure that it's not one of those things. And so that's why Cisco wants us to do this activity, is to take a look and see and realize what the different types of addresses are. Alright guys, that is it for this series of 5. The last thing that they ask you in this in the guide is, why should we continue to study and learn about IPv4 addresses if the available IPv4 space is already depleted? So we are out of IPv4 addresses in the publicly routable space. There are still, anybody can use and reuse all of the private areas, and so IPv4 continues to live, at least for now, because despite the fact that it's depleted, there are still 4.3 billion IPv4 addresses, and there's probably 6 billion different devices on the planet that are using IPv4 addressing. So despite the fact that it's depleted, there's still room. Isn't that crazy? IPv6 is coming. It is actually here, and it's here to stay. It's just taken a long time for it to get going. Alright guys, that's it. I'm going to quit rambling. If y'all need anything else, give me a holler. I hope that you enjoy this video. If you've liked this video series, please like these videos and subscribe to my channel, and then you'll get updates whenever I post something new. I'm hoping to go through the entire Cisco series. As we are arriving at the end of life for Cisco version 6, I might wait until Cisco version 7 comes out to post too many more videos, but go ahead and like and subscribe. That way you'll get my next videos as I start to publish them. Thanks guys, have a great weekend. Bye-bye.